Here. Wow. Wow. I'm not even going to go into the score of last night's Patriots-Eagles game. What was it? 78-0? It might as well been. Good afternoon. Dan Sileo here on the National Football Show. We welcome you aboard. And we are going to be knee-deep into this because everything that I planted for you to think about yesterday and through the last couple days, it popped its head up last night. It surely did. It reared its ugly head last night in a non-effortless game. And I can hear some people saying this already. Sills, it's exhibition football. So wait a minute here. Are you trying to tell me that half that roster shouldn't care about getting on a football field and saving their jobs? It may not matter to you, but those players that were on the sidelines, their jobs are on the line, or at least they should be. That was embarrassing last night. Embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. And some would say this, you're going over the line here, and it's exhibition football. Listen, when you play NFL football, whether you're keeping score or not, the eye in the sky is constantly evaluating you as a player. And my question is this. Okay, so when Nick Sirianni was telling these guys that we have an exhibition football game on Thursday night, was he telling them, guys, don't try hard? Hey, guys, don't worry about it. If you get killed 35-0, it's no big deal. Because we're getting our assessments from, the controlled scrimmages. The controlled scrimmages, I mean, last night, I wrote some notes down here. Okay, the Eagles are lucky it was an exhibition game. Seals, they didn't play their ones. Why? Are you under some notion that you have a Super Bowl championship roster? That's 4 years ago, guys. And I'm going to tell you why this is being played out this way. Because upper management has too much say in the day-to-day operations that goes on a football field. Instead of leaving it to the coaching staff and to the coaches, they're telling you and they're overvaluing your roster. Basically, what that means, you think you're better than you are. And what's the point of playing your number one wideouts with your 17th team offensive line? What's the point in that? I mean, you're not going to get the football to these guys. Your timing's going to be completely off. Your quarterback's going to be harassed. He's going to throw a lot of back shoulder passes because he's not going to have the time to throw the football. Your running game was non-existent. And by the way, that defense that people were telling me that was getting better, and I know you had a ton of guys out, and I'm still trying to figure that out. Why? Those guys need reps. Now, here's the other end. Well, we got a lot of older guys. So you have an older roster, and you're not deep. Is that what that 35-0 ass beating was last night? Because that was embarrassing. Why aren't you playing your ones? Who's making that decision? Did you see what and hey, Cam Newton and Mac Jones, those guys looked like Pro Bowlers last night, including the rookie. That guy looked like he was, honestly, he should have been the first player taken in the NFL draft. I couldn't understand it, man. I'm like, okay, so wait a minute. The Patriots played their frontline guys because game 3 is a dress rehearsal, and that's how Bill looks at it. Arians is going to play Tom Brady this weekend. I'm not sure what the Eagles are doing here. I'm really confused on how you are approaching building your roster here if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, Howie Roseman, this has got his fingerprints all over it. Well, let's play these. See, wouldn't a normal coach, like anyone, play their best guys, go out there, and every single position should have a job opening? I mean, every single guy. Well, what did Lane Johnson say? It was terrible? By the way, he was on he is on our post-game show for JAKIB Media for the Eagles. You can go over to the website and you can hear that entire interview. He said it was terrible. You know what he was saying that was terrible? It's not so much the scoreboard. It was the fact that the effort sucked. That was poor effort, poor personnel grouping. I don't even know what you were trying to accomplish. And this infamous sickness that Jalen Hurts had. You're telling me he had a stomach flu? Play his ass. What do you think? This is soccer or basketball? Well, we don't want to play him because he's sick. Okay. All right. Hey, man, that was a soft as hell effort last night. If you are Nick Sirianni and that coaching staff, and don't give me this. Well, it's exhibition football. Dude, when you step on a field, it should matter all the time how you look on film. I'm not talking to you, the fans, here on this. I'm talking to the players. Anytime you're being evaluated or you've got a film on you, you should play great all the time because they'll hold it against you. Do you know that, hey, so why would you film practices? So you think guys have that kind of effort in practice? I'll say this to you, man. Those second and third team guys that are on the Eagles, half that roster should be fired. They're terrible. They're terrible. That may be one of the worst looking rosters in all the NFL. All I can look at is the effort. I'm not even, like I said, I'm not looking at the score, but they ran up and down the field on you. I mean, the linebackers, they must have had 700 tackles in that game last night. And you want to know something? The Patriots didn't even throw their offense at you last night. You think Cam Newton's going to sit back in the pocket like that and not take off running like ever? That's a power offense. And they haven't even unleashed Cam yet. They're going to wait for the regular season, and they're going to get that dynamic as they go into the regular season with Cam running the football too. Why bang him up against a football team that doesn't want to tackle? He didn't need to. Cam looked like Cam 2015 last night, and the Eagles made it happen. I mean, again, question your effort. How about your effort level last night? Man, that was embarrassing. I mean, I don't know how you walk into your team meetings today and you got to look at that game film. You're going to look at that game film and you're going to go, whew. And then you're going to hear this. The excuses are going to come from everywhere from the Eagle front office, not from the coaching staff. The coaching staff are the people that have to fall on the sword. Devontae Smith dropping footballs. Again, I'll say this to you. Here's my assessment of him. I thought he got off the line of scrimmage, and when he plants his foot and when he gets separation on the defensive backs, he's going to be an issue for cornerbacks and for strong and free safeties. The question will be, again, durability for him. And the other question will be, will the quarterback be able to get him the football? You know, I was kissing Jalen Reagor's ass yesterday. I want to take that back. I wish I had the 10 minutes that I wasted on that guy. Holy cow, that guy got into a football game, and everything that we were talking about with him in practice and all the things that he was doing, he must have completely forgot it. Either that or Joe Flacco completely sucks out loud, and he's horrible. Look, Joe's functional in what he's going to do. He's going to be the backup guy there. So you got a quarterback that you have no clue on. And again, I'll go back to what I said yesterday to you. And let's take a look at that Eagle team. You got a quarterback position you don't know what you're doing at right now, except playing Jalen, I guess. The coach doesn't even want to be committed in it. You got a running game. Was there a running game last night? Your offensive line, you think it's that good, huh? Okay. Exhibition football. I'm gonna pull it back a bit. My problem with the whole thing last night was the effort. It was really the effort and the fundamental decision not to play the ones. Look, you don't play the ones when you're a veteran team and you're great. That organization still thinks they're Super Bowl champs. That's what that plays out to me. They still think they won the Super Bowl last year. This team's got a 3-year Super Bowl hangover. They're still hanging on to that. Right here, folks, is the prime example of why you don't see teams repeating a lot in the NFL and staying consistently good is because teams act like that. You're not playing your ones. Like I said, who on that team shouldn't have their job challenged? Shouldn't you be telling people, especially when you sucked the last year? Man, I don't know where that mentality at all comes from. I just don't. Now, it's a lot to do with these young guys. Let me throw this over on the other end with the Patriots. The Patriots, I'll tell you this. You unleash Cam. Cam's going to be your starting quarterback going into the regular season. He is. And Mac Jones, I'll say this to you. I don't know. If Mac Jones started, I think they could still win 11 ball games. That team is not reliant on the quarterback. They got two good ones. Either that or the Eagles made Mac Jones look like he was Tom Brady last night because he was very effective last night. Very effective. I got his numbers down here. He was 13-19 for 146 yards. Cam looked great too. Okay? Cam looked great too, man. And all I'll say is at the effort level, Patriots remind me of a Ravens-type built football team. They're going to run the football. That team's an 11-win team. I'll put them in this tier. The Ravens, the Chargers, they're like in that group. Okay? Maybe the Colts, they're kind of built like the Colts too. Okay? They're going to be better coached than a lot of teams every time. That's a well-coached team. That's a greatly prepared football team too. That football team prepares tremendously. They know exactly. They know groupings. They know settings. There's no front office intervention. I'm telling you, folks, what I saw last night was a guy passing notes down to the coaching staff saying this. Tell me if you don't see this. And if you think I'm 1,000% wrong, we can debate it here. We were talking, Krause and I, why are you having the one wideouts out there with the 17th team offensive line? Where do you think that comes from? No coach in his right mind is going to put talented people like Devontae Smith in with 7-team offensive linemen and a backup quarterback and expect the kid to go out there and make game-changing plays. Nobody in their mind would think that. You're going to put the kid out there and you're going to put him in a position to win because he's a rookie and you're trying to build confidence for the upcoming season. This is Howie Roseman once again in the way, and I'll tell you how. Hey, I'd like to see the first team going against Belichick's secondary. Hey, I'd like to see my second team D-line going against Belichick's first team O-line. Hey, I'd like to see our second team O-line going against the front seven of the Patriots. How do you get any consistency like that to find out what you really have on your roster? You're not practicing winning. You're not practicing gelling together as a unit. I mean, Tom Brady, how many times and how many practices does he have with his players off script, not even at $1 place? How many times do they get together at high schools, just going over plays, getting a rhythm going? There's no way to get a rhythm going when you're the Eagles, when you got people wanting to see groups versus the other teams. I don't give a rat's ass what Bill Belichick has on that side of the football if I'm the Eagles. I got to find out what I have. Let's put them all in the same huddle. Let's go out and run. Hey, and by the way, you don't have to run 35 plays with your first team guys. You can put them out there for 15 plays and then go back to your controlled scrimmages and get more of an assessment. But what you can't do is you can't have your one wideouts and your third team O-line, your second team quarterback, and your fifth team tight end in a game and think you're going to be able to get an assessment. Exactly what happened last night was that fundamental flaw in how the Eagles are building this team or evaluating this team or both. As a train wreck. Oh, and by the way, did some players look slow to you last night? You know why? Because they're in with players that they're not going to be lined up against or next to when the season starts. If you're a first-team guard and you're lined up next to the third-team guard, that guy's not going to be with you. You count on that guy on your backside to make sure you get a slip and scoop up to the linebackers. You don't want to hear this. Hey, man, is it a slip play? Is it an odd or even front? What do I do? You don't want to hear that. And that's what rookies do. And that's why there were gaping holes sometimes for those D linemen on the Patriots side to get up the field and make plays in the backfield. And that's why Flacco was constantly throwing on his backside, because he was throwing those back shoulder passes because he didn't have time to set up and throw in the pocket. I think it was a train wreck last night. Jay Rieger, too, this kid, man, that guy needs a reality check. Kid, last year sucked, okay? And last night's effort was terrible. It was terrible. Belichick did it right last night. Put his ones out and went out there and beat the piss out of the Eagles. Are the Eagles that bad? I don't know. Are the Patriots that good? I don't think so. If the Patriots do that to every single football team that they did last night to the Eagles, that team, like I said, will be a 12-11 win. That thing will be a 12-13 win ball team. And you're going to have to, readjust yourself on what you think that team may do. They got a lot of opt-ins back from the 2019 COVID stuff. And they looked good last night. And how about this? They beat the starch out of the Eagles. It was a train wreck, man. How do you go back to your guys and you sit there? So Nick Sirianni had his team meeting this morning, right? And you're sitting in that room and you're one of the players that got a lot of playing time. Man, you're scared for your gig, or at least you should be. The guys that I saw playing last night, half that roster doesn't belong in an NFL camp. They think they're better than they are. I don't think the head coach thinks that. I think the head coach is going along with that. Let me tell you what a GM does, because I'll give you an example of this. I was broadcasting in South Florida years ago, and Jeff Ireland was the head Jeff Ireland was the head of operations and the general manager of the Dolphins. I think Joe Philbin was the coach, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was the head coach. And the Dolphins hadn't had a winning season in 4 years. And I asked Jeff Ireland, I go, Jeff, what do you think the roster, give it a grade. What do you think the roster is here for the Dolphins going into the upcoming season? I forget what year exactly it was. You know what Jeff Ireland told me? He said, it's a B. I said, a B? I go, Jeff, you guys haven't had a winning season in 5 years. How can it be a B? Well, that's how I see it. So then you think it's poor coaching. Well, no, then he had to backtrack on what he said. If you asked Howie Roseman what grade he would give his Eagles roster, what grade do you think he would throw at you? Honestly. What grade do you think Howie Roseman, the general manager of the Eagles, would throw at you right now? A B? A C? Hey, he's not going to crap all over his job. He's going to crap all over the head coaching jobs. That's what he did with Doug Peterson. That's why Peterson's no longer the head coach. He convinced the owner that it's not the roster, it's the coaching style, even though that delivered a Super Bowl. And when Doug Peterson got fired, Howie Roseman became head chief in charge of how that team was going to look moving forward. Remember something, when they won the Super Bowl, that guy was in some back alley and he was in some back office when they were constructing that roster and putting that thing together. He wasn't knee deep into that thing. And now he is. And it's back to being where it was before. This is like Joe Banner days. Jesus criminy. I would really have a question if I owned that football team. Dude, why aren't we playing? So you're going into a game, and you're not going to have your best personnel on the field at all because why again? Well, we want to have – here's the common sense too. Well, we want to have them for the regular season. Yeah, but last year this same group sucked. Shouldn't we be playing these guys more and trying to figure out if we have the right guys? Well, we're not very deep. Oh, so you're old and not deep. Man. And I said yesterday the Eagles were the worst team in the NFC East. You guys want to take that back again? No, Sills, it's exhibition football. Okay. Well, here's what I have so far to evaluate you on. Last year, new coach, that performance last night, same result. I mean, you can have all this pie in the sky all you want, man. Well, I think maybe if this happens and like if this Jalen turns out to be a superstar man, you're wishful thinking, man. You're like the tooth fairy putting a tooth under a pillow and praying that there's money under it. You've got to have certainty when you're going into a season. And there's so much chaos on that side of the game last night. I was shocked on how they laid down last night, too. The effort level, they were like surrendering. How about those gaping runs? I mean, get this. Do you really think the Patriots were throwing complex schemes at you last night? They were running off guard, off tackle, and blowing you off the football. Oh, and somebody said this to me last night on my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show. Well, they scrimmaged all week. They pretty much got it. Well, the Patriots scrimmaged them all week too. The Patriots took what they learned against the Eagles in those scrimmages and beat the piss out of them. And Bill left his guys out there to make a statement. When you know what you know why Belichick didn't pull his ones out last night? Why do you think Belichick didn't pull his ones out? Do you guys have any idea why? And I saw like a dumb Eagle guy. Well, Belichick was keeping his ones and twos in the game almost the entire game. Duh. What do you think he's teaching them? What do you think he's trying to make a statement on? No matter what the opponent has out there across from you, no matter what he's doing, never let up off the gas pedal. If they don't want somebody to score on them, then stop them. He was teaching them to finish. Dude, there was a 17-play offensive touchdown drive last night, and the majority of the plays were running plays. Do you understand how embarrassing that is to a defense? Maybe I'm taking it more personal because I'm a D lineman, and I took pride in being one of the top defenses in the league, no matter what league it was. Okay? No matter what difference it was. Okay? Muhammad's got a good take here. Let me hit on it. Says it's a different style of coaching. Completely correct. Completely correct. Belichick's mentality was what I was just saying here. And that is, I'm going to put my ones and twos in position for success in September by showing them what we're going to do now. And by the way, for the record, Belichick didn't take the playbook with Josh McDaniel. They didn't open the playbook up. They weren't really showing you any complex offensive passing schemes. They were just running the ball down your throat, and they were throwing the ball across the middle. That's basically all they were doing. There was nothing complex last night about that Patriots attack. Nothing. But Bill put his first guys out there because his first guys were having success. And you know what he was teaching them? Also confidence. You're beating up an Eagle. You're beating the Eagle team up. By the way, I don't mind you getting into a game where you lose. I don't mind teams lose. Everybody's going to lose. But what you can't do is you can't get beat up. You can't get beat up. Lane Johnson's, it's terrible. He's talking about the effort and getting beat up. Okay? You're all in this thing together here, man. First, second, and third team guys are all in this together. And like Muhammad said, different style in coaching? Of course it's a different style in coaching. One coach doesn't have to answer to a GM. The other coach does. There is no question when you're putting your game day roster together, Roseman's in the room. I have never in my life seen a GM in a room when a coach is putting a game day roster together and what he needs. You think Belichick is going like this to his GM and his personnel office? What do you think we should play today? He's going like this. This is what I need today. How many times have you ever seen Bill do this? Guy gains 250 yards rushing the week previous against the Bills. And all of a sudden, that guy the next week is not activated. You're like, holy crap, this guy's not even playing this week. Last week, this guy was front and center for the Patriots. This guy had 28 carries. This week, he's not active. Can you imagine doing that with another team and a GM that saw what that guy did and he wants to see more of him? Dude, that to me, where was your fire? Where was your fire? How about this? Let me ask you a question here on this. You think they look like last year's team last night? Did you think they looked like last year's team? I thought they did. I didn't see any. Here, and this is what I say about Devontae too. Why in the and Devontae's coming off of an injury, right? He's been out a couple weeks. So you throw that guy into an offensive huddle with backups, and you're not playing the backups, but you got your number one wideouts out there. You're looking to get that guy killed. Back shoulder throws with a quarterback who's washed up and Joe Flacco? Oh, yeah, okay. What? Hey, the pass was an NFL pass. He should have caught it. Okay. You got to remember something. This is a kid making a leap from the SEC. I don't care what you say. Hey, know this. I say this to you all the time, too. Southeastern Conference is the best college football conference in America, and it's spectacular. By the way, you could probably put an all-star team together, and you could probably go and play one of the crappier NFL teams, and it would be fairly competitive. The NFL team would win, but it would be fairly competitive. Okay? I give you that. Man, but when you're an NFL guy and you're making that leap from the college game and you're throwing him in and there's a huddle filled with backup guys, you don't think he's going to have happy feet a little bit? Coming off an injury? This guy's trying to feel his way here. That's poor coaching. And Nick Sirianni's a wideout coach. He knows better than that. What, you want him to get hit? I don't want Devontae Smith hit. My objective, and I told you this yesterday about him, you've got to play that guy in space the same way that the Falcons have to play Kyle Pitts in space. Kyle Pitts is not going to line up on the best defensive ends for the Atlanta Falcons, and he is not going to knock the team's defensive ends on their ass. You've got to play him on the weak side, and you've got to put him in space. He's a spectacular player. But if you think you're going to line up with some of the best defensive ends in the NFL, with with that kid, Kyle Pitts, you're sadly mistaken. The guy does not have the body frame for that. He does not have the body frame. So what's next here? Okay, so like the next exhibition game for the Eagles. I want to talk a little bit more about the Patriots too and what they showed me last night. By the way, Josh Tolentino from the Philadelphia Inquirer is going to be with us in the second hour at 5:30. We'll get his spin. He covers the Eagles for the Inquirer. We'll get his thoughts. Mark Grote also, who's part of the broadcast team for The Score in Chicago. WBBM airs all the Bears games. He's a dear friend of ours. Looks like Justin Fields is really making a strong effort for him to be the starting quarterback in Chicago. Those will all be in hour number 2. We'll take some of your thoughts. You want to post anything, have at it. We'll continue. I mean, guys, honestly, yesterday, and I'm being dead serious here, I have one question. Why are you not playing your best players in the exhibition season? You are not the defending Super Bowl champions. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. Doc and Krause every Saturday night from 6 to 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you. Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Welcome back to the National Football Show. Dan Sileo. Big schedule of games this weekend. We'll get into those as well. But Muhammad had a really good point here, and I want you guys to look at his point here. The problem never left this past year. Howie's still here. Everybody wants to point the finger at Doug and Carson Wentz. But the main guy is still here. Bang! Bang! That's exactly correct. You know, I say this to people all the time about Dallas. There's two fundamental things that are going on with the Cowboys right now. You got the same general manager in the room. Well, what the hell do you think you're going to get when you keep changing your parts and your parts inside your organization, except for one thing, the GM. And the GM has control over the offense because you know why? Kellen Moore's still there. Why you hired Mike McCarthy still baffles me. Mike McCarthy's so-called skill set was the fact that he was a guy that was supposed to be this incredible play caller. When you still have inside your organization The culture that allows people to, I don't want to use the words meddle, but it is meddling. You don't have clarity. I'm going to give you a point of what goes on inside the Patriot organization. Jimmy Johnson told me this, and he told me this years ago. You know, the Patriots, do you know how many coaches that they have inside their coaching staff? The Patriots have like 15. You know how many coaches are traditionally on today's NFL roster? Like 25. Bill doesn't want that many voices inside the room. Bill wants to have guys inside the room he trusts, and he's going to make the final call when it comes to rosters and who plays or not. Okay, so like, remember when Malcolm Jenkins ended up getting yanked out of there? Excuse me, Malcolm Butler. Remember when Malcolm Butler got yanked out of the Super Bowl? And Belichick, that was his call. You think that was like Matt Patricia's call or defensive coordinator's call not to play him? Not to play Malcolm Butler? Do you think that that was really his call, the defensive coordinator? That was Bill Belichick's call. So when you're seeing this inconsistency like this, man, I'm telling you, this is going to be a problem play itself out all year long. Who should play, who should not play. And then get this, as you get into the first 4 games, you know what? I'll mark this day down here, okay? 8/20/2021. If that Eagle team gets out to a 4-2 start, I'll be like this, man. I was the first guy, and I got to apologize for what I'm saying. I really do. I got to apologize for what I'm saying. Okay, let me go here now with the Patriots. You know, and I opened the show with this too. The Patriots are such a great coached football team. They are, man. They practiced against that team. Bill saw the weaknesses and strengths and attacked every single one of them. And the Eagles just were all over the place because guys that were playing didn't exactly know what. That was a free-for-all for Bill. I'll give you his fundamental mentality on how he approaches. And, you know, listen, we're getting comments that people are saying, hey, look, a loss is a loss. It's at home. It's still catastrophic. It's not catastrophic. But see, here's the problem with it, though. You're not going to change it until you change the guy in the room. Okay, like, look, you could, hey, know this. You know who was on the hot seat this year in Philly? It's your GM. Nobody in the Philadelphia media should not be holding Howie Roseman accountable if this football team continues to disintegrate in front of our eyes. You blamed Wentz. You blamed Doug Peterson. You let Frank Reich go. Someone would say, well, Sills, you know, it was a head coaching job. Okay? It was a head coaching job. He had to take it. Bro, Josh McDaniel turned down the Colts job. That's how Frank got the job. Because he's the coach in waiting. Okay? He was the coach in waiting, and he is the coach in waiting up in New England. That job is then theoretically promised to him when Bill either goes upstairs or steps aside. Got another guy making a comment that Belichick is 61-72 without Tom Brady. Let's take a look at that for a minute. Belichick took the Browns to the playoffs. There's only been 3 coaches in the last 25 years that have a playoff appearance for the Browns. Butch Davis, Bill Belichick, and Kevin Stefanski. Belichick was going through a quarterback shuffle. Hey, and for the record, let me throw this one at you too. What was Mike Shanahan's record when he was with the Raiders? Look it up. What was Pete Carroll's record when he was with the Jets and the Patriots before he went back to the NFL and went to Seattle? Look it up. My point is sometimes when you get one of those jobs initially, You learn by your failure. Then when you get another opportunity, you apply the failures that you made and you correctly make those corrections. I'll tell you something else on why Belichick, you're right, 61-72. Why don't you take a look at his one-loss record in New England without having Brady there? You know what that is? Think about it for a minute. Guy went 11-4 with Matt Castle, who wasn't even drafted. Matt Castle. You know, Matt Castle never started a down at USC. He had Carson Palmer there and Matt Leinart. Never in a million years did he see a starting assignment as a Trojan. And for the record, Belichick, inside of his quarterback room, had Jacoby Brissett, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Tom Brady. I don't know. Sounds like somebody who knows the quarterback position after a failure in Cleveland. And I'll tell you what that move was that he learned in Cleveland on the quarterback decision. They were moving out Bernie Kosar. They brought in Vinny Testaverde. Okay? They brought him in. Losing record, really. Okay. Let me throw this at you here. So again, in Cleveland, he had a decision to make. Do I pull out Bernie Kosar or do I do this? And Bernie Kosar, you have to understand, is from Youngstown, Ohio. He was a local legend. They brought Vinny in, and they put Vinny in as a starting quarterback. It was a colossal train wreck. It divided the locker room. Same crap that went on in Philly with Wentz and Foles. All coaches go through this moment here. And Belichick got fired because he chose wrong. Should have stuck with Bernie. By the way, I love Vinny. Both of those guys are Kane's quarterbacks, and they're dear friends of mine. They're dear friends of mine. He goes to New England. Do you remember the situation? From his Cleveland days, he learns this. I flubbed that whole thing up in Cleveland at the quarterback spot. I can't get this wrong. Bledsoe gets knocked out of the game against the Jets. Think Mo Lewis destroyed him, right? Sidelines. Brady goes in. Brady wins a boatload of games. And then Brady gets hurt going into the postseason. Remember what Belichick did? He put Bledsoe back in. Bledsoe beat the Steelers. Then there was a gigantic decision to be made inside the locker room. And this was all after Bob Kraft gave Drew Bledsoe a $100 million deal and an $18 million signing bonus the year previous. Bill didn't care about the money. He cared about the future of the team and winning a Super Bowl. Remember, everyone, I did. I thought he was going to put Bledsoe in that Super Bowl and have him start that Super Bowl. He went like this. This was a decision that he had to make alone. This decision he made alone. Hey, by the way, most coaches, I think, would have went with Bledsoe. Bledsoe was not a bad quarterback. He had gone to a Super Bowl previously with Parcells in New England. But you know what he did? He went, no. I'm going to choose right this time, unlike I did in Cleveland. I'm going to choose right. That experience in Cleveland helped him create the greatest dynasty by choosing right. Think of this for a second, too. Coaches have chosen wrong before, numerous times. So you have up in Green Bay, you have Mark Brunell, Ty Detmer, and you have Brett Favre. Oh, and by the way, there was another dude in the room. What's his name? Oh, yeah, Kurt Warner. And you cut Kurt Warner. So instead of having to wait for the heir apparent a couple of years later with Aaron Rodgers, you had a Hall of Fame quarterback in the room with you that you cut. You cut Warner. Everybody in the room, including Andy Reid, including John Gruden, all said this to Mike Shanahan, to Mike Holmgren. They all went like this to him. Dude, this guy Warner's good. They cut him anyway. They cut him anyway. So all these coaches make mistakes first before they learn how to be successful. Every single one of them. Jimmy Johnson was 1-15 in his first season. How many people do you think in that Dallas Cowboy organization truly believed that Jimmy was going to be a coach that was going to build this dynasty outside of Jimmy and maybe Jerry Jones? And remember something, Jimmy waffled too, because what was the decision that Jimmy Johnson made when it came to the quarterback decision? This whole thing is over whether or not Belichick, is a product of Brady. Bill Belichick found Brady. Bill Belichick made the right decision to play Brady. Do you know how many guys make that mistake, like I said, and you never know? Here's what Jimmy did. Jimmy's first year in Dallas. He didn't draft Troy Aikman. That was already predetermined. Gil Brandt, Tex Schramm, and Tom Landry had already made it very clear in all the intel that they had, they were going to take Troy Aikman. Jerry buys the team, I think, in February. Who did Jerry keep on? And the only guy he kept on in the front office, you know who that was? Gil Brandt. Tex was fired. Tom Landry was fired. Everybody in the offices were fired except Gil. He wanted Gil to go through the draft because they wanted to take Aikman. Remember this with Aikman and Jimmy. Even though that relationship is great today, remember this. He didn't want to go to Oklahoma State. He went to Oklahoma initially. Then when we broke his leg and he was at Oklahoma when he played against Miami, he didn't come to Miami. He went to UCLA. He wasn't going to play for Jimmy. And what happened? What was the first move that Jimmy Johnson made in Dallas? Do you guys remember? He drafted Steve Walsh in the first round of the supplemental draft. And you know what a supplemental draft is? Supplemental draft is, if it's a first round, it's a first rounder counting against you the next year. He put a first rounder on the table. Troy came to me. We were having dinner, and we're out with Crawford Kerr and Moose Johnson. So he drafts your boy. That's the first move he makes. And I told Troy, and I've said this story to you before. I've said this story to you. Hey, man, don't get it confused. This guy's going to play the best player he could possibly have out there on the field. And there's no allegiance to Miami here. Troy, you're the guy. Troy didn't believe it for 2 years, and neither did Jimmy. And then finally, Jimmy goes like this. Okay, Troy's the guy. Then they went on and won games. Once Coach Johnson was sold that Troy was the guy, he wasn't sold for his first 2 years in Dallas. Remember, when they went 1-15, Troy didn't win that game. It was Steve Walsh that beat the Washington team. Washington, I think, was 10-6 that year. Knocked them out of the playoffs. And Steve and Jimmy was like, I don't know. That's how that thing rolled, man. Making that proper decision. Dude, if you don't have the quarterback on your roster, this is why this is even troubling too with Sirianni. How do you know you have the guy if you don't play the guy? Why? Because Howie tells you? Are you kidding? You're kidding me, right? You're being told he's the guy. He's not showing you he's the guy. I watched Jalen Hurts play against Washington last year. He was awful. I went, that guy cannot play in this league. He might be a nice backup guy. It's wishful thinking to think that he's going to go in there and be a franchise quarterback. It's wishful thinking. Isn't it crazy how New England is not really set up? And the quarterback, it could be either Mac Jones or it could be Cam moving forward, and they're going to win games. They got two quality guys at that position. The Eagles don't have one. Or how about this? I'm not sure they have one. I think that's a fair comment. All right, let's take a timeout. Don't forget, top of the hour, we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk a little bit about Justin Fields. I may be wrong about this guy. I could be wrong about what I'm saying here. He has shown a lot of promise in Chicago. Should it be Andy Dalton or should it be Justin Fields out of Ohio State? We'll talk with our friend Mark Grote from the Score 670 in Chicago. That'll be at the top of the hour. Also, we're going to talk with Josh Tolentino from the Philadelphia Inquirer, who covers the Eagles for them. That'll also be in hour number 2. You keep it right here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid
as long as you face the fear.
and keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with JAKIB and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Dan Sileo here, National Football Show, top of the hour. We will talk to our friend Mark Grote. He is from The Score in Chicago. We'll get his thoughts on the upcoming season, on whether or not we are going to see Justin Fields or Andy Dalton as a starting quarterback going into the regular season. All right. I tweeted this out a couple minutes ago, actually right before the show. It's funny. I don't think people read correctly. What did the second MRI develop for Dak Prescott? Do you guys know what it developed when it came to the comments and how it was crafted and constructed on how they released the information in Dallas? It was negative. It's healing. That doesn't mean there wasn't an issue before. Okay? It was healing, and it's negative. Those were the comments. Rich Dalrymple is the PR director for the Dallas Cowboys. He was my PR director at the University of Miami. And I know Rich exceptionally well. I worked with him for 4 years of my football life with Rich. And Rich is one of the greatest PR guys in all the NFL. And Jimmy Johnson, I don't think it's any coincidence, Jimmy brought him there. So, I mean, I think they got issues in Dallas with Dak Prescott's shoulder. What I'm hearing, it is a slightly tear on the labrum. Now, the labrum, you can play through it. You can throw through it, but the number one thing that you need, this is why they're asking baseball people. It's either a rotator cuff or what we're seeing here is this labrum injury. And that's why they've been talking to the Texas Rangers and the New York Yankees on how to deal with rotator cuff, because it's turned into a problem for Dak Prescott. The only way that you fix something like this is if you have rest. And that's what we're seeing right now. And know this, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin have all made comments that for the extended period of time that Dak Prescott has missed, there's something more than what the Cowboys are leading on. Now, I don't know why you're not transparent with this. Maybe because what you're trying to do is protect the player because you don't want people taking shots at him. That pretty much is, know this. If you know that there's a quarterback with an injured shoulder, you're going to take a shot at him all the time and try to get him on the ground. You're going to try to be as physical as you possibly can with that player. You're trying to legally, and you're trying to, within the framework of what a game can allow, take that player out. I'm not sitting there saying taking cheap shots at the guy, and don't read into that. That's not where I'm going with this. I'm saying that you're going to do everything within the framework of a game, within the NFL rules and whatever the officiating and the referees allow. You're going to put as many helmets as you possibly can on that player and that area. Why do you think the Patriots have always been so cloak and dagger when it comes to their injury report? I mean, look at what the Buccaneers did last year. Did you even know that Tom Brady was injured? I don't remember Tom Brady being injured. I don't remember Tom Brady being on the injury report for a knee injury. This guy had a pretty decent knee operation this offseason here. I mean, when you're going in there and you're repairing a ligament, that's significant. We're not talking about cleaning cartilage out here. I've had that done numerous times. That's not what we're doing here. We're talking about going in and actually repairing something. And Brady played on a bad wheel. And the Buccaneers, I don't remember the Bucs putting him on the injury report. They may have put him on the injury report for some other thing, shoulder injury, wrist injury, or something like that, just to hide it. But that's the same stuff that the Patriots used to do up in New England when he was up there. They used to hide injuries. Teams do this. You know what's crazy? Is that, you go over to my Twitter feed and you hear people going, well, this is what the PR director for the Cowboys, and this is what the NFL, you really believe that? That these guys are giving you the proper information? Why do you think players get second opinions? Why do you think the players go? Because the doctors that are in the building are hired by the owners. You constantly are getting second evaluations. This MRI was not done with the Cowboys. This MRI, the second one, was done by Dak's people. That's what this is. All right, we're going to tie it all together now. We're going to take a short time out here. We're going to get to our friend Mark Grote. Mark works with the Score in Chicago. And I got to tell you, man, he is a absolutely wonderful sideline reporter. And he's a guy that just, without a question, he's got his pulse on that team. Maybe we'll just stay here. And then you know what, too? We'll just stay here right now because I think this is a great story going on in Chicago right now. And we bring in our friend Mark Grote from the Score in Chicago, sideline reporter for the Chicago Bears. Dear friend, of course, of my friend, Tom Thayer. And that's a hell of a broadcast team there. Thank you so much for joining us, Mark. I appreciate you doing this, brother.
Yeah, of course, Dan. Yeah, man. Tom Thayer is the best, and Jeff Joniak. Those two have been together forever, and I'm just their little compliments on the sidelines.
So this is like, let me get this right before we go on. So we're going to have Josh Tolentino on with us later on. So this is like Illinois State Day here on the National Football Show. Am I right?
Yeah, man. We're everywhere. We're big. We, forget about some of the actual movie celebrities and entertainers that went there. It's all about sports broadcasting and AM radio.
I tell you this, I went to Duffy Bass's baseball camp, and I know the baseball diamond, I think they're is named after him. I went there. I went to 2 of his camps. I think he won the national championship too, also in baseball there at Illinois State too. So I've been down to your campus, man. I had a fun time down there. That's a great place. Let me get into the Bears. Let's go into this. I made the comments, and I was one of those hammerheads out there, Mark, that said this: Ohio State's never produced a quarterback in the history of their franchise. The Bears haven't had, get this stat, the Bears haven't had an all-pro quarterback since 1950. And I'm going to all of a sudden believe that Justin Fields is the guy. I did see him play last week, and I won't lie to you, I was awful impressed. How impressed have you guys been with him so far, being around the team?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been impressive. I mean, the way I've been describing him is you see all of the combine statistics in play with him. You see the speed, you see the arm strength, you see the touch, you see all of that. And really now it's a matter of learning the NFL, essentially, learning to read defenses, to get the offensive line set, as Matt Nagy has been saying over and over, getting in and out of the huddle, calling the plays, which he didn't have to do a lot of at Ohio State in terms of actually huddling up and relaying the play and getting people set. Those kind of rudimentary things, if you want to use that word, are things that Justin Fields is working to get to. But he's been impressive. I mean, I think he's had, I would say there's been 3 days in camp this season where he has not looked good, where he has thrown a couple of picks, where he's looked disorganized, where he's looked disheveled, or whatever the case may be. One of them apparently was the product of a sore groin. But, he's been imperfect. And I will say that Andy Dalton has looked overall better than Justin Fields in training camp. However, he is closing the gap.
Who do you think is the starter in September? I mean, listen, I'm always going to lean towards the veteran guy. And if I don't need to play, and I'm going to go back to Kansas City and I'm going to use the Alex Smith model there. I mean, if I can have a guy start to watch the game being played in front of him so he can learn the nuances, like you said too, Mark. I mean, you can know the playbook. You can know some of the things to do, but implementing them in an NFL game and in an NFL game plan is completely different here. So if you're looking at the organization, would you feel that they're thinking more comfortable of having Dalton as a starter and then maybe working him in as the starter as the season goes on?
Yep. I mean, that's been the plan from day one. Matt Nagy has not wavered in the least. He's been steadfast in saying that Andy Dalton will be the starting quarterback on September 12th when the Bears, for whatever it's worth, it's a primetime game against the Rams on the road. So you add that in there in terms of just throwing a rookie quarterback in. That's not the part that I would have a problem with Justin Fields, because we know that he's been on the big stage, obviously, at Ohio State, and even for the hell of it, even in high school, for that matter. This guy understands the big stage. But you have the real issue right now, Dan, with the Bears and why you would not want to put Justin Fields in is that they do not have a starting left tackle healthy, nor do they have a starting right tackle healthy right now. They brought in 39-year-old Jason Peters, a guy who probably could end up in the Hall of Fame for the work he's previously done. But he's 39 years old, and it is a bit of a desperation move because the Bears' number 2 pick or second round pick is injured right now and is having back surgery. So you're plugging him at left tackle, hoping that he's going to work. Jermaine Ifedi, the right tackle, is out now for the Bears. So right now it's been Latavius Simmons, who you're like, who's that guy? Well, he's a 7th-round pick from last year. So at this point, I think it would be a really poor idea to put Justin Fields in. And a lot of people come at me, man, and say, well, Justin Fields would be more adept to work with an offensive line that is breaking down because of his ability to run and be elusive and all that. No, because he hasn't seen NFL defenses, and the quantity of runs eventually equals some sort of injury. And believe it or not, as to your point, Dan, Andy Dalton has seen it all. And he's not the elusive athlete that Justin Fields is, but he knows when to get rid of the damn ball or to step out of bounds. There's no way you could just say Justin Fields at this point knows how to work with a potentially rickety offensive line.
This is why I love you, Mark, because you know the importance of a punt and a throwaway pass, where a young kid may not know that because you learn to live another down and another series, and you don't want to lose field position, because when you lose field position in this game, you're losing ball games. The inches that you lose end up becoming yards, and those are usually resulting into games. Let me throw this at you then. You mentioned the roster itself. Is this a playoff roster going into the regular season, in your opinion, or still yet a work in progress?
I think still a work in progress. I mean, they did make the playoffs last year as an 8-8 team, and we could debate the merits of that all day long. Should an 8-8 team, is that really a playoff team? And they lost to New Orleans in the postseason, so they were one and done. I don't see a reason. Like, the Bears have been 8-8 the last 2 years, and right now I don't see evidence for them being better or worse, quite frankly. I would lean towards a little bit better, just because you have, obviously, and it's all about the offense, really. And you have Darnell Mooney, who is a second-year wide receiver for the Bears, who was really good last year. If he makes the jump, that you have something. If Cole Kmet, the second-year tight end out of Notre Dame, if he makes the jump, then we're looking at something possibly. And then if the defense returns to its elite status, which quite frankly it hasn't been since 2018, then maybe you have some improvement. So there are lots of pockets of areas that would lead one to believe that they could be better, but I'm not going to say it until I actually see it, because there's no actual proof that they will improve. So it's, at this point, no, man, I can't say that they are better or worse than what they have been the last 2 years.
Mark, you're around. A couple last questions here for you, Mark. You're around Matt Nagy a lot, and the people that I know in the NFL, they love the guy. They think the guy's brilliant. They think the guy knows how to put a game plan together. He can win with limited talent around him at times. I mean, he's his reputation around the league with other coaches is impeccable. Yet people are looking, and obviously when you're in Chicago, you're not going to get the latitude of being 8-8, and you're not going to get this. Hey, 8-8 in some places, like in New York Jets, they would be holding a parade and have a parade on the lane of canyons if you were 8-8 in Chicago with the Jets. But in Chicago, you're going to get thrown in the lake. So tell me what you think of him, man. I mean, your assessment of being around him. Does he have control of the team? Is he a guy that, Chicago really hopes really pans out? Because I hear great things about Matt Nagy.
Yeah, I mean, he's great with the media. He is relatively unflappable when it comes to our questions, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of us, as you mentioned, being in Chicago. So he is great to us. Yes, his players do respect him. There is buy-in to him. The problem has been with Matt Nagy since he got here in 2018, that what his specialty is, his major, if you will, is offense and creative offense and downfield offense. And we simply have not seen it for any sort of, amount of time. And that's the issue. He has been sort of conflicted on the run game since he got here, like in terms of how to use it, how often he wants to use it. When he came in, he didn't really want to use it that much at all. He wanted the passing game to act as a running game. He finally started to go away from that a little bit in the second half of last year when we finally saw David Montgomery become David Montgomery. So, yeah, man, he has buy-in from everybody, it seems. I mean, I'm sure there's a few players that don't like him. That's just the way the world works, and not everybody's going to like the boss. So he has, mostly buy-in. However, the full Matt Nagy, what he boasted when he came in, we have not seen, and that would be the only rub on Matt Nagy. He's got all the other parts. We just haven't seen the full Matt Nagy offense yet.
Finally here, one guy that all of us can maybe circle that you've seen so far in camp that may be flying under the radar, because I love finding those guys, because there's always guys on a roster, and every single roster, there's always a guy that you just go, holy crap, this guy's really a great player, maybe flying under that radar, somebody that has kind of surprised you a bit.
I would say Jalen Johnson. He is the second-year cornerback, and he's a second-round pick, so I don't know that's exactly what you're looking for in terms of flying under the radar. But he's looked great in camp. His teammates are saying that he's going to be an elite cornerback. We'll see about that. And with Kyle Fuller having gone from the Bears, he has to step up and be the guy. So he's a guy who is sort of flown under the radar. I'll give you one other name, and that's Bilal Nichols. along the Bears defensive line. He's one of these, he's a former 5th round pick. This is his 4th year. The guy just gets better every year. I don't know that we're ever going to be talking about him associated with a Pro Bowl or All Pro, but I'd say look out for him as well as far as the defense is concerned this year. So there's a couple of guys for you.
I'll leave you with this also here. So my first game in my NFL career was against the 87 Chicago Bears, and it was Peyton's final game at the old Sombrero down in Tampa. And I'll never forget it. It's my first opportunity to get into a football game. They go, Sileo, get in. So I'm in there, and there's Tom Thayer. There's, Jimbo Covert. There's all these guys. That great O-line they had, right?
Oh, yeah.
Tom Zach and McMahon were in the game there. I think Jim was hurt a little bit. I'll never forget this. The center goes away. I look back, all of a sudden, wham, this 34 guy. I throw up through my face mask, and I just hear this. And I'm going like, and I looked over at him, and I said, this is the greatest moment of my entire NFL career. I'm very sure of it, is that I had just got knocked out by Walter Payton.
That's awesome, man.
Hey, I'll make sure I tell Josh you said hi. Thank you so much for doing this, Mark, like you always do for me.
You got it, Dan. I'll talk to you soon, man. Bye-bye.
You got it. That is Mark Grote from The Score in Chicago. We'll take a brief time out. You keep it right here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at IBEW98.org.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
Welcome back to the National Football Show. Dan Sileo here. Josh Tolentino from the Philadelphia Inquirer will join us at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk about that disaster in Philadelphia. Holy cow. If you're a Philadelphia fan, you're sitting in the stands, you're paying full ticket price for that garbage last night. Tell you what's crazy about that. Think of that for a minute. You pay full ticket prices for exhibition games because it's part of your season ticket package. You watched that thing last night? I love how the media always goes, well, it's exhibition football. Well, then why am I paying full price if I'm a fan? Why are you sticking me in a game and you're charging me full price for crap that went on that field last night? The NFL, hey, man, I'll tell you what, they treat their fans so poorly at times. But you know what? We love football so much and we don't care. You put that on the field last night for people that were paying to see, and you had a chance to go into a stadium for the first time during this stupid-ass COVID-19 stuff, and you had a chance to go in there and watch a game, and you had that put in front of you. That's like a crappy-ass meal being put in front of me, and I have to eat it. Man, I don't want to eat this. You're sitting there watching that mess. And by the way, all you've been hearing – it's everybody saying, oh, we're this, we're that. We've actually had guys come on this show saying, and I heard people, and even Howard Eskin said the same thing to me about the Eagle fans. There's actually some Eagle fans that think that this is a 12-win football team. What? Yeah, over 2 years. Over 2 years. Here, I'm going to give you my assessment of the team. You need a new GM. You need to get younger in the line. Pick it, both. I mean, I love Fletcher Cox, but, dude, that guy's got to give me 15 games this year, at least. I'll give you 2 off. Got to give me 15 games. Need a pass rusher. I need a secondary that can make plays. The wideouts, I don't know. I feel pretty good about them. But then again, do I have the guy to get him the ball? Your running game, when's the last time the Eagles had a running game? Can you tell me? When's the last time they had a decent running game? If you don't have a superstar quarterback with a giant arm, I'm going to talk to you about the team they played against last night with the Patriots, and I'm also going to tie in the Colts and the Ravens into this. You think the Colts this year are going to rely on Carson Wentz to win a championship for them? Or do you think they're going to rely on being physical at the point of attack like the Eagles were 4 years ago? I'm going to tell you this. How that Eagle team was built 4 years ago, that's how I want my team to look. That team beat the doorknobs off the Patriots in the Super Bowl. You know how they did it? Up front. You actually had Bill Belichick's team 4 years ago putting their hand up because the Eagles had worked them over. I had never seen a Belichick team worked over like that. I mean, the Eagle guys, you know what they did? They put their hard hats on. They had their flashlights in their lunch pail, and they said, let's go kick the you-know-what out of these guys. And they did it. And then what did the Patriots do the next year in that low-scoring Super Bowl against the Rams? They pulled an Eagles on them. They beat the hell out of them. Hey, all the Aaron Donald fans, I know my boy Krause loves him. Where was Aaron Donald in that Super Bowl, man? That guy, you talk about having your face on a milk carton. That guy's face was on a milk carton for that game. They beat him up. That's what they did. They got the biggest O-lineman they could find, and they just ran the ball right at him. And they beat him. Brady didn't have to throw for 38 points in that game. They beat the hell out of him. That's how you construct a team. That's how you construct a team if you don't have Aaron Rodgers. By the way, let me put this at you too. You think they're building that football team in Tampa around Tom Brady? The reason that the Buccaneers became a player after they were 7-5 at one time this year. They were 7-5. And that Chicago game, by the way, you know that Bears team last year? They beat the Bucs. That's right. That Bears team beat the Buccaneers a year ago. They beat him pretty good, too. Beat him at the point of attack, all the things that we're talking about. Ran the ball well. Buccaneers turned the ball over. They had pre-snap penalties. They were all over the joint. And finally, they came back, and I don't know if they lost another game the rest of the way out, all the way to Raymond James in the Super Bowl. But how they started getting better, their O-line started gelling. They stopped throwing those plus 25 passing plays down the field. No risk it, no biscuit. That's not really Brady's style. Fournette became more of a factor. The front seven of the Bucs took over, too. Why do you think Todd Bowles got a contract extension for the next 5 years? Arians is not going to be the coach in 5 years from now. He's 70 years old. That team's going to be turned over to Todd Bowles and Kyle Trask, the quarterback potentially they drafted out of Florida. So there's going to be a seamless transition in Tampa. And how that transition is going to be, they're not going to deviate. Mike Evans is in his prime. Goodwin is in his prime. Probably have to – that kid Howard's a good tight end. He's taking over for Gronk. That young O-line and that young front seven they have in Tampa, Tampa's going to be good for a long time. They're going to be good for a bit. But they're not building that team around Brady anymore. Catastrophic. What's this? Would the Buccaneers win a Super Bowl if Brady's not there? Absolutely not. But would they still be a 500 team and still be a team that would frighten people each and every single Sunday if Kyle Trask was the starting quarterback there? Absolutely they would be. And watch this. If Jalen Hurts is in the lineup for the Eagles or he's not, I don't know. And I liked what Mark Grote said, too, about offensive lines. I kind of disagree with that a little bit, but I got what he said about the nuances of running a huddle. He's right about that. Justin Fields is still learning really how to get under center and take snaps because most of the time these young quarterbacks, even Mac Jones, you know, how many snaps do you think Mac Jones took under center? Most of the time when he was at Alabama because they run that spread offense, he's in shotgun. When you're in the NFL, you have to get under center. And some of these guys just taking snaps again like that becomes an issue just teaching these guys how to get back under center again. So that Patriots team last night, it's built like the Colts and the Ravens. The Ravens are getting better in the passing game. The Colts are going to get – I'll tell you this. Do I think the Colts will be better in the passing game this year with Carson Wentz compared to what they did with Phillip Rivers? They'll be more consistent than they were a year ago with Phillip Rivers. Rivers turns the ball over too much. That will be one of the things that'll be on his tombstone one day. He said Rivers was a hell of a passer. Rivers was a hell of a player, a hell of a leader, but he turned the ball over too much. Same thing like with Favre. He had a lot of Brett Favre in him. This guy's trying to weed that football in that tight pocket, and he's a risk it or biscuit type guy. I traditionally don't like risk it or biscuit guy. Turnovers is the number one thing that ends up killing you. So again, running full circle here as we are going to get Josh Tolentino on with us from the Philadelphia Inquirer. We're going to talk to him about that and get his thoughts on what he saw last night. And by the way, I will say this, and I know what people are saying. They're going, Sills, it's exhibition football. Are you really putting that much into it? I'm putting the effort into it. I'm putting the formula on how they're evaluating the team. Josh is around the team. He covers the team on a daily basis for the Inquirer. Maybe I'm sure he's been talking to the GM, and I'm sure he's been talking to the head coach about their fundamental thought process on what they're doing, on how they're preparing a roster and how they're getting ready for the upcoming season. Now, you could also play it into this end. Well, they don't really have a deep roster. Which means this. Why don't they just come out then and say you're in a rebuild? I mean, you lost your coach. You lost your quarterback. There's numerous holes on the team. You look like you have a kid who could be somebody at the wideout spot. You know, Krause was saying this to me. He goes, man, he didn't drop any of those things at Alabama. That's okay. It's funny. He was more down actually on Devontae than what I was, because the things that I was looking at on Devontae, and you know what? I wasn't really down on him. he dropped that football. That's not what I was looking at. He was in there with the third-team O-line, second-team quarterback, and fifth-team offensive line. I was like this. I mean, I don't know what you're expecting. But the thing that I loved was he was explosive off the line of scrimmage. His cuts were exceptional. His route running, he didn't round them off. Next time you watch Devontae Smith run a route, one of the things that made Jerry Rice an exceptional football player was the fact that Rice run precision routes. The problem that you see with guys like, I'll tell you this Jalen Rigger guy, he was rounding every single route off. If it's a 14-yard cut-in or square-in, run a 14-yard square-in, not a 12.5, not a 16-yard round-off. This is not a bell curve offense. Everything is precisely done for a reason. There's a reason that you're told do a square-in at 7, not 8, not 6. A square-in at 7. Everything is timing. Some guys never. Here, story here. So Chad Ochocinco, remember him, Chad Johnson from the Bengals? Chad Johnson was notorious for this, rounding routes off. In Cincinnati, he could play playground football. You know, if it was a 20-yard square in, this guy had run 22 yards, 18 yards. He's just looking to get open. He didn't care what the particulars were of the play. He was just looking to get open. He tried that crap when he went up to New England. He never played. He never played up there because Brady is precise on his pass routes. How do you think a guy like Edelman and guys like Amendola and Welker and all of those cast-off dudes from other teams became essential wideouts in that offense? Because they were precision route runners. You can't run a precision route when you've got a quarterback that you're not sure of and your offensive line is made up of backups. That's why last night when Belichick is playing his ones and that offensive line, I'll tell you this, I don't know how many snaps they got last night, but that offensive line last night, dude, they played a lot of football. They played a lot of football. I would say this last night, that first team and second team, parts of the second team offensive line for the Patriots, they may have touched 60 plays last night. And that's why, Matt, you think Belichick was going to take out the number one offensive line when he put in his number one offensive draft choice? He was going to put the 2s in at the offensive line spot. Okay? He was not going to do that. This guy was going to make sure that he had all the components around him. That's why that coaching style last night versus what we saw with Philly last night, it's questionable. You know, I started the program out by saying, look, man, if you're the Buccaneers are pretty much going to play almost every single one of their guys because, look, right, we only have 3 exhibition games this year. So this is like your dress rehearsal. Next week is going to be the last exhibition game. So what does that traditionally mean when you have 4 exhibition games? You're looking for the last couple guys on your 53-man roster. And these guys are going to make up a lot of your special teams guys. You're looking maybe for a kicker. Maybe there's a punter that's going to be in a conversation. Maybe there's a battle there going on. Maybe there's a battle between a linebacker and a defensive back on who you're going to keep. Are you going to go long on D linemen or are you going to go long maybe more on offensive linemen? There's certain numbers that you have to deal with. And what you also have to deal with is you have to deal with numbers in your group settings. What are you going to do in the first part of your season? And there's an economics thing here too. All that has to play into how you're going to construct a roster. So next week's game, dude, you're talking about, you know, a game for maybe 7 guys on all 32 teams next week. Guys that are going to come down to the last cut. Should I keep this guy or should I not keep that guy? Your hard work went this week. Now, will you do any kind of like controlled scrimmages next week, probably earlier in the week. But, man, we're talking September's right around the corner here, and you've got to start getting your numbers down now. Most of these football teams understand pretty much who they have right now, and maybe even last night, maybe that's what the Eagles were thinking, is that they pretty much know who their guys are that they're going to be going into the 2021 season with. But, man, I don't think, because it's pretty much what I saw last year, especially when it came to that type of effort last night. I was very disappointed. Not in the score. Look, I tell you this all the time. Scoreboard in preseason, as long as it doesn't count in the standings, I get it. But when the cameras are on you and the eye in the sky is on you, dude, you've got to have you've got to have, no question about it, you've got to have great effort here. All right. So one thing about the Patriots, though, that Patriots team, I'll tell you, beginning of the year, I thought they were a 10-win team when I saw their roster. And as I'm watching Bill put the team back together again, I think the Patriots could be an 11-win football team. Now, make no mistake about it, the Eagles made them look like they were the beginning of their dynasty when they were back in the early days. But go back to that team, how they won games. Remember, they won games with Adam Vinatieri playing defense. They were really good running the football. They weren't, could you name it? Troy Brown was the wideouts. They were a physical football team. And to me, they've gone back in time a little bit to when Bill first initially made the first dynasty. Remember, there was 2 dynasties in New England. That first group that they had, with the Deion Branches and dudes like that ran the ball. I think even Corey Dillon may have been on those football teams. The old Cincinnati Bengals running back. But they wanted to run the ball as much as they possibly can. And that's what they're going to do this year. I said this also in the last hour. They didn't unleash Cam last night. Cam's going to run the ball during the season. There's no reason to beat his ass up, especially when you had an effort last night from the Eagles. Want to bring in our friend, Josh Tolentino, and this has been like, I want to throw this out at you here, Josh. This has been like Illinois State Day here, man. We just had Mark Grote on with us here, and he was talking Chicago Bears. So here we are, man. This is like Illinois State normal day. How you doing, brother?
Dan, doing well, man. It's like you picked this Friday. It's a beautiful Friday out here, man, and you just picked me and Grote Day. I'm all about it, and we're talking the birds, so it fits. It fits what we got going on today.
Absolutely. Let me throw this at you here, okay? Start me out here a little bit here. Josh, why aren't we playing the first teams? By the way, are you muted a little bit there?
I'm muting when you're talking because the stage is yours when you're going, Dan.
Gotcha, brother. Okay, why aren't we playing the ones with the Eagles?
Hey, well, obviously Jalen Hurts yesterday. That was a very last-minute scratch with the illness. I was out there on the field, Dan. I was watching him, participate in pregame warm-ups. He literally took every snap with the ones, with the first-team offense. And all of a sudden, 5 minutes later after the national anthem, here's Joe Flacco coming out in the huddle, and I think we were all taken by surprise. So, a little suspicious at first. You had thought maybe COVID was in play, but obviously the team has gone and, multiple times said it was a stomach issue. So I think we start there with Jalen, and when he's out, I think that affects many of the other decisions the team made, such as, they were missing 3 starting offensive linemen, Lane, Johnson, Kelsey, Brooks. Those are your 3 studs right there. So from there, it's kind of like a domino effect, especially this is the preseason. So, if you want to dive into more, there are many more issues though beyond, that starting unit.
How about this, Josh? What about the effort level last night?
Yeah, I'll take it there. The thing with the effort is it's tough. You got Devontae Smith, who's making his NFL debut, and then you see Joe Flacco out here. Dan, I've been at every practice, from start to finish. I mean, I'm getting out there, even before they start and, staying there many hours after practice. Not once have I seen Joe Flacco throw a ball to Devontae Smith. So, and obviously Devontae being hurt the past couple of weeks plays a factor into that. But when he's healthy, he's taking every ball either from a jugs machine or obviously Jalen Hurts. So, an effort standpoint, it's tough to talk about, especially because, the fans, the pundits, they see what happened in the game, and it was on a national stage on NFL Network last night. But man, for the most part, it caught us a lot by surprise because the Eagles thoroughly dominated, and I'm not even stretching the word dominated, and I know it's practice and you can pull out an AI, but they were the better team in the 2 joint practices, and that's at this time of the year when the team is unveiling more, when they're not under the lights and when the camera's not rolling.
And Josh, one of the things for me that was a question mark, okay, going into, and we're going to be talking to Sirianni real soon too, so I'll throw this at him, but you had the number 1 wideouts out. You had, like you said, your second or third team O-lineman in. You had your backup quarterback in. That played a lot, I thought, into the inconsistency last night. I mean, it just seemed to me like you didn't have one unit out there at one time. And I know, like you mentioned, prior to going into the game, there were injuries that were sprinkled throughout the team, but there just seemed to be, I don't want to use the word chaos because I don't think that's the right word, but it just seemed that the groupings and the personnel settings, they were just all combined in difference, 2s and 3s. And like on the defensive side, you had the number 2s and number 3s versus the Patriot 1 offensive line. What was the theory behind that?
Yeah, the entire defensive line, I mean, they were missing all 6, starters / rotation guys. Literally all of them were out. So that might just be at a point of the defense has actually looked pretty good at camp. We're about 3 weeks in, and the defense by and large has been in front of the offense. Jalen Hurts stepped it up in practice this week, and they were starting to string together some better drives against, obviously they were playing New England's defense, but for the most part, when the Eagles offense is going up against their own defense in practice, the defense has the by and large, again, they're a step ahead. So I think it comes down to the coaching staff feeling that they're comfortable, and maybe you're talking to Sirianni, you can question him on that mindset. I mean, it's his first year, obviously, and not just that. Practices have been really short. I mean, practices have averaged under 90 minutes, which falls well short of the league average of practices going around 2 hours. So a lot of different factors, but by and large, the most part from what I've heard from different people across the organization is that they feel comfortable with those guys in place, such as Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, even a newcomer like Ryan Kerrigan coming in, a vet. They feel comfortable of where they're at in terms of pace at this time of year and reps.
Josh, so again, am I just making more of it? And again, I'm not looking at the 35-0. I'm just looking at, some of the things that I said. But Philadelphia, what it's going to be. The fans are just going to see the score. They're not going to, they're going to go over the cliff, not just to the cliff. I mean,
Dan, it was halftime last night, 19-0. We had fans booing at the Link, and in a preseason game, and we're all in the press box. I'm looking at my left and my right, and I'm like, is this actually happening? And then a few moments later, the halftime entertainment were some frisbee dogs, and all of a sudden everything was all well amongst the fans there at the Link. So I'm right there with you when I hear that they were dissatisfied with even a preseason performance. So all hell knows what happens, here in less than a month when the regular season starts up.
Give me your thoughts on Jalen Hurts so far in camp. What are you seeing so far with him? Have you been impressed, or are you still yet incomplete on it?
Yeah, I'm still needing to see a little bit more, and I know a lot of reporters across the beat were thoroughly impressed, including myself, of his performance this week in practice. Dan, I want to say Monday and Tuesday were his 2 strongest practices consecutively of the season. He only threw 2 picks, and those actually occurred in 7-on-7s on Tuesday. But you know how he rebounded right away in team sessions and led his team to a touchdown. And it's not just that, but it was the the precision of his throws, the timing with his receivers, it finally started to show this week. And, who knows if that's, Devontae Smith returning to practice for first time, or obviously Jalen Reagor had a great week, had many highlight catches, not just one, but some incredible one-handed grabs. Did that, elevate the room across the offense? But for the most part, Jalen had struggled up until this week. So I'm still not sold. I think we got to see him string together more performances like what we saw on Monday and Tuesday. And obviously that starts with his health. The team is sending him back home for a few days. So we got to see how he looks if he participates Tuesday up there in Florham Park with the Jets.
Two last questions for you here, Josh. So, when we go forward here and we see that, we're not hearing that they're going to play him a lot, probably not at all in the next exhibition game here. Why has it been that Sirianni's had a problem naming him as the starting quarterback going into the 2021 season? I mean, I get he wants him to earn it. I mean, but after what I saw with Joe Flacco last night, there's no way they're putting Flacco in on the opening week of the National Football League for the Eagles. Or maybe you see something different that Joe could actually have an opportunity there. Why is he hesitant on not naming him the starting quarterback going into the regular season?
Yeah, again, I think we've got to look at Nick's background and, again, what he's doing this year. It's his very first year coaching, I think, at the head coach level in any capacity. And here he is, calling shots, having shorter practices, having decisions like this where he doesn't name Jalen Hurts the starter. And, could that be influenced a little bit by Howie in the front office? I think that's obviously part of the equation, but I think Nick Sirianni is just kind of setting a tone here with, having Jalen take the reins. And that's, those are specific words that Nick used at the very beginning of training camp, that he wants to see Jalen take the reins. Well, for 2 weeks, Jalen did not have any type of hold on those reins, let alone any of the three quarterbacks in the room, Joe Flacco and Nick Mullins. All three of them were average at best, with more poor performances than better ones. And then, again, Jalen had this string of practices this week where it looked like things were finally coming together, and it looked like he might have a hold of those reins. And it's not that we're back to square one, but he needs to take a firmer grip on that. And then your question was on Sirianni. You just got to look at what he's trying to set here. He really wants him to take his instruction, and not just that. He's got a lot of. I hope you ask him about his teaching method and his methodologies, and most especially, he's very big on, it seems like, on instructional videos, Dan, during the meeting rooms and stuff. Not only are they reviewing film, but he's playing YouTube videos like Kobe highlights and Michael Jordan speeches. And one of the most interesting ones, I thought, I forgot which player retold this, but Nick Sirianni, again, in a team meeting room at the NovaCare facility, lights off and everything, he puts on a video of Kobayashi at a hot dog eating contest going up against Joey Chestnut. And why did he show that video? It's to show that how Kobayashi and Chestnut were so focused on the details of how to break down the hot dog, how to eat the hot dog in, a certain amount of time. And he wanted that message to, be passed along in their fundamentals and their techniques every day. It's a very different type of philosophy, not necessarily different, but maybe just something we're not used to seeing. We'll see how it plays out here in less than 3 weeks when games start to actually matter.
Hot dog eating contest, John. Hey,
I'm telling you, he's focused. Like I think it might have been Lane Johnson or one of the offensive linemen. They were describing about why they were watching the video, and they were basically saying that he wanted that their observations of how they're breaking down the bread, how they're dipping the bread into the water, like that precision and that timing, how he wants that to be exuded basically in their fundamentals and their techniques. Because we've learned two things about Nick Sirianni. There are two big things that he stresses. One, obviously, being consistency. The others being make sure you know your fundamentals. And I think that's where that the hot dog eating contest videos, that teaching philosophy falls for Nick Sirianni's teaching method.
Finally here for you. How much of a hold do you think that Howie Roseman has on the Sunday roster that the players are going to play? Because, Josh, I'll tell you, what I saw last night was a general manager that wanted to get group settings, and he wanted to take a look at the wideouts versus Belichick's defensive backs, or his second team, third team D-line versus the Patriots' first team O-line. It just seemed to me that, I don't know if there was a lot of coaching last night. It just seemed to me that there was a lot of evaluating last night when it came to the Eagle roster. Am I fair when I say that?
Yeah, a bit. And then I think one thing, if you're Howie, you better hope that the ones stay healthy, man, because we obviously saw a heavy dose of the 2s and 3s, and obviously guys that won't even be on the roster here in a few days and within the next couple of weeks. And, man, obviously it starts with Jalen. It trickles down to the offensive line. We mentioned the defensive line not playing anything. There were some spurts, though. I mean, Zach McPherson had a rough night, the 4th-round rookie out of Texas Tech. But he did have a nice pass breakup on Jacoby Myers that I remember vividly on a 2-point conversion out there in the end zone. But guys like him, Milton Williams, will obviously need to step up. He's a rookie that's been flashing, but I mean, outside of those recent additions, those 2s and 3s, they by and large, again, it looks very, very rough. And so, I mean, if you're Nick Sirianni, if you're Howie Roseman, you better hope that Jalen is healthy here in a little bit, because I think you could go on and on about Joe Flacco and Nick Mullins' struggles last night.
I'm still struggling with the hot dog stuff, but hey, John, hey, brother, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully we could do this again. By the way, congratulations on being in a great football market in Philadelphia. I know you're down with our boys down in Miami, man, but you're really in a great football market now in Philadelphia. Just want to say congratulations, and I hope you'll do this again. Thank you, Josh.
Hey, Dan, I appreciate it, bro. Give me a call anytime, and I'm just going to have to get used to the booing and, the preseason over at the link. But, we got one more game to get it together, head up to the Meadowlands, and then it all starts for real in Atlanta here in a few weeks. So I'm sure we'll talk soon.
You got it, brother. Thank you so much, Josh. Appreciate it. All right. Yeah. Wait a minute here. Kobayashi. Okay, so hang on. Nick Sirianni shows hot dog eating videos. Okay. hold on. Nick, I'm going to take a timeout. You keep it here on the National Football Show.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
The savoring taste of a good bag of beef jerky is so enjoyable at any time of the day, as long as you can find it. Here's what we suggest. Pure Bull Beef Jerky is our answer, and soon it will be yours. Locally produced in the Philadelphia region, this high-quality, healthy protein snack is easy to secure. Go to steersnacks.com, and you'll see hot garlic, tropical heat, Pure Bull dry rub, and our favorite, Huck and Fod. What's that? Huck and Fod. Go now to steersnacks.com.
Welcome to the Wildwoods, the perfect place where you can safely do everything or nothing at all. Catch a wave, take a nap, go for a drive, grab a bite. It's your vacation, and we're doing everything we can to make it a safe one. The Wildwoods. Your vacation, your way.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local Union 98, is a proud sponsor of The Labor Show with J. and Krause every Saturday night from 6 till 8 p.m. IBEW Local 98's highly trained and superbly skilled electricians are the best in the business, setting the highest safety standards in the electrical industry. So when you're planning your next industrial, commercial, or residential project, choose an IBEW Local 98 union contractor. Learn more at ibew98.org.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on three. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
This is a key. It's a family tree. It's a pair of wings. It's a secret handshake. And a ticket to anywhere in the world. It's more than a uniform. It's the door to a world most people only dream of. There's Strong, and then there's Army Strong. Try it on at GoArmy.com.
No inspirational videos or hot dog eating contests. I guess so. I know. Hey, look, I get the new style of coach, and I guess, I might be old guy, get off my lawn, dude, but I don't know. I think just going out and practicing and playing football and putting your guys out there and just kicking people's ass, maybe that's just too old school. I don't know. I don't need to see Kobe Bryant play a basketball game to be inspired. I made it to the NFL. The hell do you think this is? You think pro football, I need a rah-rah speech like some Rockney speech or some dumbass video? I get paid for a living, dude. I'm a man. I don't need rah-rah speeches in the huddles or fancy videos or guys who did so. I don't need that crap. I'm a professional football player. Inspirational videos? Stuff's so geeky and so over the top. I don't mind guys coming in and talking to you. People like Ali, who used to come into our, who the guys Jimmy Johnson used to bring into our practices? He brought Muhammad Ali in. He brought Roberto Duran in. Brought guys like that, prize fighters, who in the 15th round, back when they fought 15 rounds, had their guts in the ring. It was either death or win. That kind of stuff. I don't need a hot dog eating contest. It's Jesus criminy. I'll tell you what, it looks like those guys were in a hot dog eating contest last night. And here's what you got here from Josh, too. There's no question that they put more of an emphasis on the controlled scrimmages than they did on the game. This is what the players did. And I'll show you because their effort proved it. And the people that they had out there on the field, too. They made it more of an emphasis on what they were going to do inside those controlled scrimmages. There's nothing controlled about a football game. And I get the guys, and again, I'm talking more so about effort. So when the guys showed up last night, they had already done their work during the week. That's how they looked at it. They had done their work. How about this? Okay, I'm still going to hold to my guns on this too. That's a 6-11 team. I'll give them 6 wins. And I'm giving them the 6. We'll see. Okay. And I'm glad to hear at least this, that Jalen Hurts had a good week. What you don't want to hear is the guy had a horrible week and then he goes into the game or he didn't go into the game because of some stomach flu or whatever it was. And then the rest of the team, because the quarterback didn't play, they laid down. There's no doubt, listening to what he said, being around the team all week, is that he saw that they put really great effort into what they were doing during the week. So, okay, I'm going to go with that. Hey, look, and people are bringing up, if Howie's right, I will be the first one. I will be the first one to come out and I will say this, okay? That's what some folks are saying now. If Howie's right, that this football team is a team that could contend for the NFC East Championship, I'll be the first to do this. And I promise you, I'm not one of those guys that are going to sit here and be on the air and go like this. Well, hey, they just got it by luck. You know how Bayless and all the rest of these guys do that. I don't go down that route. Like I pointed out with Lamar Jackson a couple years ago. I said this about Lamar. Lamar Jackson, I said, would be out of the league in 5 years. So here, if you're a Jalen Hurts guy, Sileo, you're the same guy that said Lamar Jackson would be out of the league in 5 years. I did say that. I watched him against the Chargers in that playoff game. He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. He goes into the offseason. What does he do? He improved his game. He ended up being a MVP candidate. He's won 80% of his football games since that first year when they gave him the reins of the team from Joe Flacco, obviously. Led the NFL in touchdown passes, I think, 1 year, didn't he, with 38? Back-to-back seasons, rushing the football over 1,000 yards. He's a heck of a football player. I am a gigantic fan of what they're doing in Baltimore. John Harbaugh, I'll say this to you too, man. And the reason I'm kind of bringing up the Ravens, because the Ravens remind me of what I saw last night with the Patriots. The Patriots, I think those two teams, I think they're very comparable. Obviously, the quarterback in Baltimore is the edge factor, and why Baltimore's the better team is because of what he can do for you on the offensive side of the football when it comes to getting out on the perimeter. He may be the best open field runner that we have in the league, and that includes running backs. He's spectacular in open field. I mean, this guy knows how to get it done. And he's working on his accuracy. That guy, of all the teams in the NFL that are continuing to get better and better and better each year. And remember something, sometimes you may not see this, a team getting better, because you may go like this. Well, 1 year they were 14-2, then the next year they only won 11 games. Well, we all know that once you have a great season, what happens? You get a tougher schedule the next year. And you continually get these tough schedules because you're being consistent and they give you a harder schedule. You could be a 10-6, 11-5 team. I know we're adding the extra game this year, so those numbers are different now. But you can be a better football team, but not win as many ball games as you did the previous year because you've given a harder schedule. There's going to be more 3-point different games and more differences in the outcomes of games. And a punt here, a fumble here, a turnover where a guy takes it back for a pick six. That's going to be the difference in some of these games. Like Ravens, Patriots, Colts, I think are those like tier 2 teams. And I would put Chargers in there too. I would put like the elite team, obviously, are the Chiefs, right? You put the Chiefs, and talking AFC, obviously, here. The Chiefs on that side. And would you creep Cleveland up in that room? A little bit with the roster that they have, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. They got 2,000-yard potential rushers in the backfield. You've got the wide receiving core that they have. They've now added Clowney on the other side of the defense. I would also put the Bills in that upper tier. I don't know if I'd put Cleveland in there. Cleveland may be in that lower tier, but Bills and Chiefs have to be in that upper tier when we're talking about football teams that could win a Super Bowl. And then those lower teams right there in that second tier, if they have it perfectly set up for them, remember, they're going to have a little bit weaker of a schedule. And let's just say this to you. In the division that they play, the Patriots, they play the Jets twice. Well, they're winning those games. Okay? They're winning those football games in that division. So you got 2 victories automatically. Okay? The Dolphins, okay, that's going to be – I still think that they win both those football games. There's 4 wins that you have right there inside that division that they play in the NFC East. I don't think they're going to split in any way whatsoever. I don't think they're going to split with the Dolphins. Dolphins still have to prove to me that football team could do some things. All right. Great week. We really appreciate everybody coming aboard with us here. Don't forget, too, Lane Johnson made some comments on our post-game show with the Eagles on JAKIB Media. Make sure you go over to the website because he had some crazy comments about that game last night, and I think he was right on with those comments. So go over there and watch that. If you missed the show today, we really appreciate it. While you're there, please like it, share the show. There is so much going on as we're getting closer and closer to the upcoming NFL season. We appreciate everybody coming aboard. Krause, thank you. Big Joe, we thank you. We'll see you Monday going 4 to 6. Have a great weekend, and we shall catch you on the